What is up, my Squirtleites? It is I, your king. In today's episode, I do happily decree, no, I declare that the greatest video game ever created by humanity is finally going to be getting a sequel, and I actually already knew this a couple of years before this madness popped up on Friday, but I had to discuss it. This is a great excuse to discuss it, so let's just dive on in. Obviously, there's a lot to go over, and this was just kind of a half announcement, and you might think I'm totally blowing this out of proportion, but I will explain. So, in case you missed it on Friday, October the 18th, developer Ikumi Nakamura posted a tweet that I'm going to put a link to in the description. This tweet featured a quick video of her standing alongside Hideki Kamiya. All he did was say Okami is going to be back, and aside from a bit of humor on her part, that was essentially the whole video. Now, before I get, crucified for being super reactionary about this and reading way too much into it, I want to provide a bit of context and assure you that, yes, I am still taking this with a few grains of salt, but it is more than one grain. First things first, who even is Ikumi Nakamura, and why does she matter in this situation other than being the one who posted the video? Most people probably recognize her for her very energetic and bubbly appearance on stage at the Bethesda conference during this past E3, because it was undoubtedly the best part of that entire show. She was showing off a game called Ghostwire Tokyo that her team Tango Gameworks was working on, but it was her infectious enthusiasm that won everybody over, much more so than the game. Now, if you didn't know, she has since left Tango Gameworks and is now presumably working with Platinum Games. She has her name on a few other projects besides Ghostwire Tokyo as well, and would you look at that? The first one of those projects is in fact Okami. Granted, not in a major directorial or creative lead role like many of her other projects, but still a part of it nonetheless. She also helped work on Bayonetta once Clover Studios had essentially transformed into Platinum Games and then left the company to go work on The Evil Within. That is how she ended up under the Bethesda umbrella, in case you were curious. The other part of this video is obviously Kamiya himself, who needs no introduction. He is the mind behind Okami. He directed it and wrote it in its entirety. This beautiful, perfect masterpiece came from this man's brain. But more importantly, at least for the sake of context, this isn't even the first time Kami has talked about an Okami sequel. In fact, the first time I believe he openly discussed it was back when Scalebound was canceled in early 2017. Remember that game? Probably. Well, after that, Platinum Games obviously didn't have anything on the table, and thus questions were asked of Kamiya, who named off two upcoming projects in particular. The first of those was Bayonetta 3, which was later confirmed as in development and was announced at the end of 2017. The other, well, that was an Okami follow-up, an actual true canonical sequel. And I say that because this game that you see on screen isn't that, but we'll talk about that later in the video because I got some hot takes regarding this thing. Anyway, so this tweet has everyone riled up, and I kind of already knew this was coming eventually based on that previous information, but the reminder is nice, exciting even, and I'm not going to sit here and speculate on what a sequel would or should be because, frankly, I'm personally just as happy either way. The first Okami is and will always be near the pinnacle of video gaming, about as close to perfection as any game could be. This sequel could be the worst thing ever and totally jump the shark in every conceivable way, and it still wouldn't affect how wonderful the first game is. Obviously, I hope the sequel is every bit as good, but I have zero expectations right now. Just like I had zero expectations with Okamiden. Let's talk about it for a minute, because I've seen a lot of discussion over the last couple of days regarding this game and how it's not being talked about as a true sequel, and how Kamiya won't even acknowledge it. And let's just start with the facts. Okamiden isn't canon. It doesn't exist within the realm of the Okami story. Once an Okami sequel does come out, Okamiden will become the DMC of the Okami universe. Very few members of the original Okami development team had anything to do with Okamiden. The most notable member of those people that actually did being composer Rei Kondo, one of many composers who worked on the original Okami soundtrack. He was the man behind this song from the original soundtrack, by the way. And honestly, the music is the most faithful aspect of Okamiden, but I digress. Now, I'm not trying to bash Okamiden because for what it actually is, it's a fantastic game. Seriously, one of the best games you'll ever play on the DS, but see, that's the problem. As an Okami game, it falls short in so many areas, and that abysmal hardware is why. This game released 2 weeks before the launch of the 3DS in North America, and 5 months in Japan ahead of their Japanese 3DS release date. I'm sorry, but this thing looked dated right out of the box even back then. The art direction is such a crucial component of Okami's endearing and everlasting allure and magic, and it's truly wasted on such an underpowered system. This, of course, also caused many other restrictions with the game, such as copious amounts of loading zones, severe limits on the number of enemies that could be on screen at any given time, slower inputs, and a lack of detail. There are also many moments where the game completely ignores the story beats of the first game, retconning material or flat out ignoring certain details, and sometimes failing entirely to preserve the identities of characters that carried over from the first game. Heck, sometimes jokes and moments are reused almost verbatim. But that's not to say it's all bad. The writing is still witty and charming in areas. Some characters really are great, and Chibiterisu is adorable. He doesn't deserve any of this. I love him. It's just Okamiden isn't a sequel. Even the game's lead designer, Motohide Ishiro, and I think I pronounced that correctly, calls it more of a successor. And sure, that's well and good, but it was so horribly hamstrung before it even got its feet off the ground, and the game is more of a shame than anything. A fine Nintendo DS game, yes, but still a huge shame. That's why I want something better for Okami in terms of a sequel. Again, not trying to speculate a thing, but can you just imagine the art style and direction of the game designed from the ground up for next generation hardware, instead of the original PlayStation 2 hardware that the original still looks amazing on even to this day, even with its subsequent remasters on the PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Nintendo Switch, and PC. Oh, gosh! I can't even begin to imagine right now how wonderful that would look. Anyway, that's all I have on this one. Okami, you beautiful, wonderful, unparalleled triumph of humanity. I can't wait to play more of you. In fact, I think as soon as I turn this off, I'm going to go play more right now. I will see you all in the next one.